Hello, my Teaserking family. Welcome to another classroom from the professor. This one is on week 2 of the NFL. Excuse me. Sometimes I get this little hack, but nothing serious. So let's look at week 2 of the NFL. And then we're going to look at the overall picture of the NFL, which I took the first 2 weeks and am able to get what I get in college: strength of the team, weakness of the team, the quarterbacks. Are they a balanced offense or running or passing? Most are passing. And just to get a flavor of what are these teams right now, because it's the NFL without the preseason, which is weird because college doesn't have a preseason, right? College, you don't know. They play a game. You go, okay, yeah, they can score. They're not. Oh, look at Kansas. They're good. They score. And you get Washington State. Oh, they have a defense this year. So you're looking at different anomalies that start coming up. In the pros, we kind of have to do the same thing, but with the pros, because of all 11 new coaches, the quarterback switch, it makes it a little more difficult. Look at Jacksonville. They got Trevor Lawrence, and then they got Urban Meyer, and then he leaves. So now there's a new coach in. And a lot of them are running this stupid little offense, the wide receiver bubble screen, or the little back out of the backfield on a clearing route. Too many go for 4th and 2s. And I was watching one game, I think it was the Raider game, and somebody went for 4th and 2 at their own. I think the Raiders at their own 29, and I think they made it, but it goes back to risk reward. What is it that you risk losing the game for having the ball at your own 31? You got to punt the ball. I don't understand why they're afraid to punt and play defense unless their defense is so bad. And by the way, the Raiders lost the game, not necessarily because of that, but that didn't help. So there's too much of that. There's too much going for 2-point conversions. I lost the Washington game because they missed an extra point and they went for 2 and didn't get it. So that's 2 points you left on the table. I had 8. They lost by 9, and they should have lost by 7. I don't get when the team's down 14. Instead of just kicking the extra point, getting down 7, they go for 2. And then when they miss, they're now down 8. And now they have to get the 2-pointer to tie instead of kicking the extra point, getting down 7, scoring. And then you just either kick the extra point, go to overtime, or maybe not. Maybe you just tie it up and have enough time. Or maybe then you go for 2. But again, going for 2 at the end of the game is not like going for 2. The statistics, the analysis is such bullshit. Believe me, going for 2 with the game on the line is not very difficult to do. And maybe a Brady or somebody like Rodgers can do it, but most of these guys don't have a clue. They can't read defenses. So anyway, let's walk through week 2. Let's see what the hell happened. We'll take a look at week 3, and we're going to take a look at the teams. And then we can answer any other questions that come arise. San Diego, KC -4 wins 27-24. In that game, I had played San Diego because they were 24-2 as a road dog, now 25-2. They're trying to hold Herbert at the end, hurt his ribs, so you got to watch him. San Diego this week has Jacksonville at home, but Herbert's got hurt ribs. Ribs are a very difficult thing. Yeah, you can wear the flak jacket, but just to throw the ball is going to hurt. The pass he did at the end of the game to get the touchdown, you could see he was in a lot of pain. So ribs are something that takes a while to recover. It just hurts to breathe or cough or sneeze. So we will see. KC looked like KC, 27 points. Indy, Jacksonville, Indy -3. They lose 24-0. That's Matt Ryan. You can't blame Matt Ryan. I don't think he's got receivers. The coach is not adjusting to that. They need to run Taylor more. So Matt Ryan, you can't just say he stinks, but on the other hand, Matt Ryan, is it a new? It's like Denver, right? You got a new quarterback. He's got to get used to the guys. So it's not fair. Jacksonville, they scored on some defensive stuff. Lawrence still looked like one. We'll go through quarterback stats in a second. So yeah, it was a surprise. Yeah, but Indy is a road favorite. There can't be a road favorite. So again, it's hard. You got to play mostly dogs, and the only road favorite you can play is Tampa, maybe Green Bay, maybe Buffalo, but that's it. Tampa Bay, New Orleans. Tampa Bay minus only 2.5 because New Orleans has their number, but that's with the other coach and Drew Brees, who are both gone. So they win 20-10. Lane 2.5, which was a real cheap number. So now Tampa knows how to play them, and it was still close. I mean, they only got 20, and for Brady, that's small. Now Brady's got a lot of injured receivers. Two of his receivers from last year they're uninjured. So he's got Julio Jones. He doesn't have Gronk anymore. He's got other tight ends. Fournette runs the ball. So you got to get used to these new receivers. But Tampa's Tampa. They're pretty good. They got Brady. They're going for the Super Bowl. They'll probably mop up on a lot of these weak teams. New England Pitt. Why was New England favored in Pitt? They were laying 3. They win by 3. Over under 40.5 goes under. I played it under. I played Pitt. Pitt was 7-0 as a home dog, and I didn't think New England is going to beat them by a lot with that offense. So that's about what I expected, somewhere in that scoring range, a tight score. Cleveland and the Jets, watched that game on the highlights, right? It's 20 minutes. How Cleveland lost that game is beyond me. Cleveland still looks like a good team. The Jets, I guess they're not as bad as they appear, and they looked at. Jay Bradley went 8-0 wrong with his ribs. Don't you see it was a ploy to catch the defense off guard for the comeback? Okay, Jay. I hope not. They're laying 7 this week, so I don't know if it's a ploy. I don't know what. I don't think the other team knew he had hurt ribs, but he certainly grimaced a lot. He'll take the shot this week, and we'll see. But it's just ribs are hard. Ribs are very hard to breathe if you sneeze or cough. Very difficult. So Cleveland really gave them the game. They had them. They missed an extra point, and then the Jets come in. They're down. They get the onside kick. That was terrible coaching because they were not prepared for the onside kick. The guy should have he never came up for the ball. He stayed waiting for it, and the Jet guy came running, and the Cleveland guy's waiting, and then the Jet guy cut in front after 10 yards. But then they scored. So Flacco looks a lot better than we all thought he looked. And the Jets, to me, are a pretty live dog. I don't know if they can be a favorite, but Cleveland, they're running Chubb, so it's Chubb against whatever. And Brissett's okay, and we know he's not a great quarterback, but he's okay. The Giants -2 against Carolina, same thing. Carolina 17-4 is a road dog. We take Carolina. They cover. Again, the Giants, they're running Barkley. It's becoming more of a running team. Jones, he runs. He's not a good quarterback, but he runs. Carolina's pretty weak. And again, they only scored 16 on the Giants. So it's a 19-16 game, which is very low scoring, but it's close. And with the Giants as the favorite, Carolina, Mayfield, so you're okay there. And take the dog, and the dog covers. Miami, Baltimore. I'm beginning to wonder about Harbaugh. Never should have lost this game. Failed to put pressure on Tagliavua. Made him look like a superstar with going for 500 yards against this tough Baltimore defense. You can't lay back. You've got to attack and put pressure on him. And he's not good enough to find the receivers, down the field. So He's hitting Hill a lot, which I give him credit for, and Waddle. Okay, they think they're back in the SEC playing Tennessee or whatever. But Baltimore with the big lead gives it up. They didn't run. You can't explain it. I have this as an under game. It's under 44.5. I go to 50, 42, 38, really. So what it looks, the way you read the game is neither team really has a defense. I assume Baltimore got tired. So if you have a decent passing offense and Tyreek Hill, they're just going to wear down because they're not in shape. And Baltimore obviously is in worse shape than I thought. And to not blitz and not just sack them, you got to do that. If they're going to pick you apart the way they did, and you can't double team Waddle because of Tyreek Hill, you got to blitz because you can't let them just sit and pick you apart. You got to do one or the other. So you got to double team Waddle and you got to double team Hill, and then you got Jaminski. So Miami's turning into they got smart with Hill. Waddle was a good pick. The one Alabama guy that's actually good. Maybe Devontae Smith looks okay too for Philly. But what you have is Miami's figuring out, hey, you know what? If we run, they can't double team both of them. And if they do, the tight ends wide open. They don't have much of a running attack. But Tagliabue, even he can hit the guys. You can't double team them both. And Hill's so explosive. So right now, Miami's a very live team. As much as I really don't like Tagliabue, if he can play like this, I like him. If he can make me money, I like him. He never did. They were always an under team. So maybe with Hill, and this is where the adjustments need to be made. You need to be open for adjustments. And you say, hey, Miami is now an over team. They're not this team that can't get a first down, or it's all 5-yard passing. But if he can light up Baltimore, and then I got to wonder about Baltimore's coach. You got a big lead. You're not running the ball, taking time off, and you don't run it with Lamar Jackson. You actually use a running back. You ever hear of a running back, Harbaugh? And you should take the time off the clock and not let them come back because there's not enough time. So I blame Baltimore's coaching. Obviously, they're not in condition. We got to really question Baltimore. Maybe they're just an over team. They can score and they have no defense. We'll see. We'll look at the stats. Detroit and Washington. Detroit actually covers. And as I said, Washington missed an extra point and went for 2 and missed. So that should have been 36-30. A W for the dog turns into a loss because they don't know how to kick extra points. Even the one at the end I would have pushed because I had 8, and the guy misses the kick. So they actually go and kick it. And what I don't understand is you're down 9. Why do you go for 2? Because if you miss, now you're down 9. Now you need 2 scores. If you just kick your extra points and you're down 7 or you're down 8, then you can score and tie it. But you can't. And then the other is when you're down 14 and you get a touchdown, kick the extra point, get down 7. And then if you want to go for 2 because you're down 1, okay, that makes sense. But you got to get there first. You can't go for 2 when you've cut the lead to 9 and then or you cut the lead to 8. Make the extra point, you're down 7. But if you're 8 and you miss, now you need a 2-point conversion, which you just missed one. So it's not easy to get that. Pardon me while I have my coffee. So Detroit looks explosive for now. We'll give them credit. Washington, I don't know what kind of no, they're obviously not a strong defensive team, but give Detroit credit. Now, is Detroit a live dog because they can score? I don't know. Their defense still weak, probably an over team. We'll see what happens. Frisco and Seattle. This is the only time I've ever been screwed by a quarterback getting injured. Trey Lance, this is the problem with running quarterbacks. Breaks his ankle, out for the year. Running. Like, why is he running? You have like one of the best running backs in the league. Which I can't think of his name. The receiver. I go, that's who you give the ball to. He's a runner. You don't because if he gets hurt, you got another runner. you can't just replace the quarterback. Now, Garoppolo, he's okay. He's nothing special. Seattle, I think, turned the ball over inside the 5 like 3 times or 2 times. And then this going for I know DJ Dallas, they had the ball at the 5-yard line. They try a halfback option instead of my Dave Casper play, by the way. They do a halfback option. He throws an interception at the 5-yard line. What the fuck are you doing? So it's good, but the guy's got to read, I can't throw it, and just run with it. You can't just say, well, that's the play, I'm going to throw it, even if he's not open and we're going to throw an interception. You can't do that. So Seattle really broke trend here. 23-2 is a road dog, now 23-3. Play against Frisco, 11-1 is now 11-2. Okay, that happens. We won with Pitt as the dog. We won with San Diego as a dog and Carolina as the dog. So you can see it works quite well. Would have worked here if they just would have scored. If they would have ran Walker, the kid from Michigan State, he did play. If they would have ran him more. But the Niners have a good defense. They don't have a good offense. And that's Seattle just woke up from this is probably the reality of Seattle. The Rams, 31-27, lane 10, over under 46. I had over. Atlanta's an over team. The Rams with Stafford are an over. He's either going to throw touchdowns or interceptions. I warned you about laying the 10 because it's there's very few teams that can lay 10 in this league that are good enough to lay the 10. So 31-27. Now a block punt covered for Atlanta, but they still scored 27 on, I don't know what the Rams are right now, if they have a good defense or not. Stafford keeps throwing the ball to whatchamacallit. Cooper Kupp, 15 times a game. You'd think they would start, knocking him off at the line of scrimmage, double teaming him, but nobody seems to be able to do that. So again, the Rams, more like the Rams, 31. So what do you take away from the first week? Is Buffalo really that good? But it was 10-10, and then Stafford threw 3 interceptions. So if he doesn't throw the 3 interceptions, you probably have a ball game. Here they put up 31, bought on a weak Atlanta game. So again, you got to look, who did they play? Are they doing it against a good defense? And I'll go through the rankings with you after I go through the scores. Denver, again, I warned you about laying 10, wins 16-9. Denver looks inept. I had the game under 45.5 to 51.5. That wins. Denver, I mean, they're just two pathetic teams. Houston's just pathetic with Mills. Denver, Russell Wilson, okay. He's got Judy and Hamler. He probably would prefer the Seattle receivers. I don't know. I think it was a dumb move of Russell Wilson to leave Seattle unless there was other things going on and he had to. So again, 16-9. No offense for Houston, not a surprise. Denver scoring 16 is not really a surprise because he's new and Russell Wilson's trying to get used to it. Arizona, Oakland, I called the over in that game, and Arizona 16-1 is a road dog. So both of those came through. Arizona, again, the Raiders are 5.5-point favorites. Why? We hate the coach. We need John Madden back. What are you doing with this? There's another New England guy who can't coach. He sucked at Denver. He's screwed Indy. You're going to make this guy your coach and wonder. So they blew the lead. They blew the game, laying 5.5. So when you look at this game, you go, can Oakland win? I mean, you're going to lay 5.5. Or can they win or Arizona? No, Arizona came on nice, 29-23 against a weak Oakland defense, but Arizona's got a weak defense too. So overs and unders are based on defense. If you have weak defenses with a somewhat good quarterback, which you had here in Carr and Murray, you're going to get points because the defenses suck. And in this league, they're just, Murray's running all over the place. He thinks he's at Oklahoma. 51.5 over under, I thought was low. 45 is 27-20. We got 29-23. I don't think it's hard for teams with decent quarterbacks, unless you're playing the 72 Steelers or the 84 Bears, to score in the 20s in this league. Arizona 16-1 is a road dog now. 17-1 is a road dog. So again, here's where my trends come in. When in doubt, at least look at the trend. So 17-1 is a road dog. So the only one not to come through was freaking Seattle, which should have, if they don't throw a halfback option and he throws an interception, just get me points. 27-10, 17. I needed one more touchdown, and I think Frisco scored at the end of the game on a block punt, right? So it's 20-7. I'm going to win, and it's a block punt, I think, for a touchdown. Really, frustrating that way. I mean, this is the pros. What's with the block punts? Cincinnati, Dallas. Now, Nick's on Cincinnati because they lost, and it's Burrow. And it's Cooper Rush. Well, Cooper Rush is not that bad. Now, I thought the line, Cincy -7. I don't know. I had the game Cincy -3, even with Rush. I think Rush is better than Prescott. I don't like Prescott. He's just not accurate enough, and he wants to run too much, right? He thinks he's a running quarterback, and we know that you don't win with a running quarterback. So Rush 20-17. I have under 42-48. The under's good. The under's based on Dallas with a good defense and their backup quarterback. And Joe Burrow has Chase, but he's missing that running game. He's missing the tight end or the other receiver to go to, because they'll double team Chase. He's got to get somebody. He gets sacked a whole lot, so he needs to run the ball. See, when you run the ball, you really tire out the defensive lineman. You run at them, they're not gonna sack you as much if you're doing that. And they only score 17, but Tampa only put up 19 on them. So Dallas, with the guy from Penn State who I can't think of, number 11, is making the defense very strong. A lot of sacks, almost like Lawrence Taylor. So they have a very good defense. Cooper Rush isn't going to light it up, but he'll make it. He can be competitive. So 20-17. Again, I'm not sold on Cincinnati as a powerhouse. They're not Tampa. They're not Green Bay. I don't even know if they're the 49ers. I mean, they're kind of a weak team with Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow, yes, we know, outstanding quarterback. But if you're sacked 5 times a game and you don't have a running attack, and where's your tight end? Their defense is okay, but really giving 20 up to Dallas doesn't show me a good defense. So Dallas an under team. Cincinnati, I'm not expecting them to win 40-0. They're not that type of team. They're okay. They might be able to pull the game out, like against Pittsburgh. They go down, they drive. That's Joe Burrow. He drives down, hits Chase for the touchdown to tie the game at 20 with 10 seconds left, and they get the extra point block. But the point is, he went down and should have got the win 21-20. That's Burrow. That's Cincinnati. They are not going to beat you by 20 points. But if it's close and Burrow has the ball, that's why I was shocked in the Super Bowl. They didn't drive down and tie the game up or win it with a field goal. I was very shocked by that. Green Bay, they came back. I had Green Bay under 42 because the Bears have no offense. The Bears are your typical under team, pretty strong defense, no offense, no quarterback. Green Bay, I was pissed. That was one of they're pissed, like the Rams. The Rams couldn't cover. Green Bay blows out Chicago, but it was good because you knew they'd be pissed, but then Chicago doesn't have anything to really fight back with. If this was a higher scoring team, like maybe a San Diego or Kansas City, they'd have had problems. But because it was Chicago, and they're pissed, Rodgers lights it up like we thought after a loss, and the way he looks in week 1 is ridiculous. But he comes back in week 2, he gets pissed off. He got his receivers back. Lazard played. There was a couple other receivers that everybody played. Their defense is okay, and they easily cover the 10, and it's an under because anything with the Bears we're going to go under with. Buffalo 41-7 against Tennessee. Tennessee looked terrible. Buffalo 41 to them. Is Buffalo this strong? How good's Tennessee? Tennessee's now gotten killed 2 games in a row. So beating the Rams on Stafford's 3 interceptions. Okay, they got the interceptions. Now 41-7 Tennessee. So them and Green Bay are the 2 10 teams that actually covered. Where's my phone? Oh, it's charging. So they actually covered, and then off you go. So Buffalo looks to be like, I wouldn't start betting against them. I don't know, depending on the line and who they're playing, what you do with it. This week they're at Miami. This will tell you a lot. And in the last game, Philly and Mini beats Green Bay. Oh, they're a good team. No, they're not a good team. Philly beats them. I think it was 24-7 or 24-10. I didn't write the score down, but I know Philly covered. They're running Hurts, so you got to pressure Hurts, right? You've got to blitz them, and you got to spy. Get rid of some of your defensive tackles, play a 3-man line, and get rid of one of your linebackers and add 2 safeties, and that'll take care of Hurts. That's what San Diego did against Lamar Jackson in the first playoff game, and he was useless. Don't let Hurts run around on you, and to do that, you need more speed on the field. So you put you have a safety spy. They call that in the like in college football, like the rover or the wolf or whatever, and that's what they need. They just need a fast safety to just blitz them, and if you blitz Hurts, he's all done because he can't. He's making good throws. And again, they got Devontae Smith, so that's making it good. But we'll have to see. I do like Gainwell, the running back from Memphis, is really good. Minnesota, again, they should have covered easily. Kirk Cousins threw 3 of the worst interceptions I've ever seen. Even at the end of the game, he just lobs the ball into the end zone. Dude, this is pro football. You don't lob the ball in the end zone. He lobs it. Guess what happens? An interception. At the 10-yard line, you're scoring. You could have made it very competitive. Minnesota should not. See, this is Kirk Cousins' problem. See, when I bitch at these quarterbacks, this is why I bitch at them. Montana would never throw like that. Brady, he rifles the ball in there. Mahomes rifles the ball. Very rarely do you see these guys with 3 or 4 interceptions and bad ones. So Kirk Cousins beats Green Bay looking good, and then he looks like shit against Philly. This is the problem I have. How do I know who I got? So this week, Mini is 6 over Detroit. Well, what the fuck am I going to do with that? Which Kirk Cousins is going to show up? Detroit's been scoring. So let's go through team rankings. What are team rankings, you ask? Well, here you go. I'm going to go right down the list. Pittsburgh, an under team. Well, I'm going to do it this way. So bear with me while I get to the stats. And I am here, so please bear with me. Okay, so we're going to go. And we're going to go, and I'm going to explain. So let's go right down the list. Buffalo. This is based on offense. They scored 36, give up 9. Now, this is all pro, so I don't have to worry about Division II college like I have to in college when UNLV beat somebody 70-0, and you got to throw it out because it was against Division II. But you do know they're scoring, and I talked about that yesterday. So Buffalo 36-9. Buffalo is a passing team. They throw 307, run 111, but they do get 400 yards. And they've been sacked 9 times, if this is the right formula, which should be, yeah. So they've been sacked 9 times. So a lot of sacks, but that's Allen running. Now they're only running for 111 a game, which is kind of. But in the pros, I don't know what's a good number. Like college, when they run for 250, 300, like Ohio State and USC and Oklahoma, you know what you're getting. Here, 307, 111. It just shows they're more skewed to passing with Allen. and he scrambles. So you got a passing team. It's a 36-9. I rank Buffalo as an A team with those statistics. Well, where are they? Buffalo. Yeah, I rank them as an A team, which means good offense, good defense. Do you bet against them? Only with another A team. Anybody else, boom. Kansas City scored 36, give up 23. Mahomes throw for 298, rush for 111. It's 408. He's been sacked 5 times in the 2 games. Now, a lot of that is preseason where they're getting used to it. So Kansas City's certainly scoring. I have them as an over team because they're giving up 23. Buffalo's an A team, they're only giving up 9, but they're still scoring 36. So that's the difference when their defense isn't that good. So they're going to play higher scoring games because they scored 36 a game. And they played good San Diego team, so you got to give them credit there. Detroit, now this is a surprise, so let's keep track of it. Scored 36, give up 33. This is a pure over team. Goff, now they're balanced. They're running the Georgia guy. They pass for 236, run for 186. And as we know, in college, we love balanced teams because it's hard to defense that. So now we've changed Detroit from a Z team who never scored to all of a sudden, excuse me, all of a sudden, they're putting up 36 a game. Now, who did they do that with? Well, week 1 was Philadelphia, and week 2 was Washington. Excuse me. Philly, as we saw, held Minnesota down, but that was 3 interceptions. So the first game, you go, Detroit was down 30, and then they scored a few touchdowns late to lose by 3. This game, they had Washington the whole way. Now they go at Minnesota, and they're getting 6. Do we trust Detroit plus 12? Or is Minnesota really, which Minnesota team's going to show up? And I'll do a history. So when the teams are in the same division, they play each other twice a year. Then I'll look at that division. As far as Minnie being a good home favorite, Detroit being a good road dog, I don't see that at this point. I don't see, like I gave you Arizona as a strong road dog. I don't see that. This week Arizona's a home dog. Well, they suck at home. They're good on the road for whatever reason. It makes no sense. But anyway, that's where we're at. So Detroit is an over team now. Philadelphia. What do I got them as? Philly I got as a B team. So where Buffalo's an A team, Philly's a B team. They scored 31. They give up 21. So they got a good offense, and they got a fairly good defense. Giving up 21, still a good defense. Hurst, okay, they're balanced. They pass for 288. They run for 190. That's pretty balanced. How much is Hurst running the ball versus a running back? They do have some these like Sanders, I believe, and Gainwell. He's throwing the ball better, so we'll give him credit. So Philly is a very live team, 31-21. They're probably a very live dog. This week, they're 7-point favorites over Washington. So I'll go into the games in a minute. Baltimore scored 31, give up 26, a pure over team. Lamar Jackson throws for 266 a game, and they're only running for 109, and probably 80 of it's Lamar Jackson. That's your problem. You need to run the ball, especially when you had the lead. You should have run the clock out against Miami. That's what the normal teams do. That's what the Steelers, Franco Harris would have ran the freaking clock out. Zonka, Oakland, all of those, Dell, Emmitt Smith. That's the key to it. You've got to run the clock out, right? You got 10 minutes. We're going to have an 8-minute drive and not leave them any time. The game's over. They couldn't do it. And that's Baltimore's problem. It's too much Lamar. It's great that he runs and gains yardage at times, but it's not great when you need to run the clock out and you're losing games because you don't have a running attack. So that's where it gets hurt by that. Miami scores 31, gives up 23, another over team. Tagliavua, now I don't know, but now he's throwing for 370 and they're not running. They're run for 76. I have Miami as a B team, actually, not an over team. But they could be it's close to an over, 31-23. Either way, they are scoring and they are giving up. Now, it's skewed because they put up 100 points against Baltimore. So this is where the numbers, I need another probably 5 weeks to really nail the teams, but this is a very good start. I can see Detroit. I can see Miami scoring. I mean, last year they were probably 15 points a game, both those teams. Now they're in the 30s. Again, week 1, everybody's tired because they're not in shape. Week 2, they're probably still not in shape. Week 3, I expect them that now they're in shape. We'll get a more realistic look of the team. That's why you got to adjust and you just kind of watch the first 2 weeks. You can't get too excited. So Miami 31. So again, you got Tagliavua now you've got the new addition of Tyreek Hill with Waddle and the tight end, Gaminsky, I think, kid from Penn State. So you got weapons that he can throw to, and he's throwing more than 5-yard passes for the first time. So he actually looks like an NFL quarterback. I'm not sold on him yet. He did win the game at Baltimore and came back. Give him credit. We'll see if he keeps doing this, then maybe we can bet on him. At this point, I don't know. Do I trust them against Buffalo? Now, this is a good barometer. If Miami can beat Buffalo at home, then they're gold. They're a strong dog. They're da-da-da-da-da. If I don't see Buffalo blowing them out, again, I don't know that Buffalo is really it, but we'll see. Cleveland scored 28, give up 28, a typical over team. Weak defense, good enough offense. Brissett, he's manageable. They're balanced. They throw for 188, run for 201 with Chubb. So it's mostly Chubb and a little bit of passing. Without a defense, it really makes it hard to play Cleveland. You can play them as an over team or a dog. What you're looking for is this analysis tells you, how do I play the team? So Cleveland you're looking for Cleveland to play Detroit, and you go over. Cleveland to play Baltimore, you go over. That's what you're really looking for. And they do play Baltimore twice a year. Washington, another over team, score 28, give up 29. The Lions ripped them. Wentz, they throw for 325 and they're not running. They run for 87, and most of that's probably Wentz. They're not running enough. They're just a passing team, which is hurting them. That's the problem. You must run, especially near the goal line. You can't rely on these passes all the time because it's very hard to pass for touchdowns inside the 10-yard line. There's no room, and this is the NFL. They're gonna blitz you and sack you, or you're not going to have really room to throw it. So if you can run it, though, they can't do anything. If you can power run it down their throats, there's nothing they can do. Atlanta, another over team, score 27, give up 29. Mariota, they throw for 206, run for 146. I call them an under team. I don't know where they're getting their points from because the numbers don't add up, but they did block a punt, so they're getting maybe special teams points. Their defense sucks, giving up 29, so they're not a team you can bet on to win. They might be a live dog against a weak team. And we'll get to the weak teams as we go through this. Next team's Arizona, score 25, give up 34, another over team. No defense. They can score kind of as they did at the Raiders. They're passing for 240. They run for 123, which isn't bad. So they're more of a passing team. They're not quite balanced, but a good over team. So their defense is in trouble, giving up 34. So when they play a good quarterback, they're going to be in trouble. When they play Chicago, then you can trust them to win. San Diego, score 24, give up 23. I have San Diego as a even team. What's an even team, Professor? An even team is San Diego. They score 24. So they're not like this great offensive team, but they're not a bottom. They're not scoring 10 points a game. And their defense gives up 23. So they're not a superstar defense giving up 10, but they're not giving up 30. So I don't know what else to call them. I call them an even team, so I know where they're at. So against a bad team, they'll win. Against a good team, they're going to struggle. They have Khalil Mack and Bosa and James. They got some stud defense. Hard to believe they're giving up 23 a game. Herbert hurt the ribs. We'll see. He throws for 307 and they run for 76. That's their problem. They don't run for enough. And this coach goes way too much on fourth down. You got to realize on fourth down, two things happen. One, risk and reward. If you're doing it from your own 40, if you make it, you don't gain anything. Now you got the ball at your own 42, first and 10. What did you gain? On the other hand, if you don't make it, you pump the other team up. And that's the fact they're not putting in the freaking formula. So in other words, the formula should be sitting there. What if we don't make it? How does the emotion of the other team go? That's what I mean by you can't formula football. You can't formula emotion. So the other team gets sky high. First, they get pissed off. Oh, you think we stink. You're going for it on 4th and 2. And then when they stuff you, now they're all emotional and you're flat. You just lost the game by going for it. But the reward of getting the 2 yards and having the ball now at your own 42, there's no reward for it. So, okay, well, that's what you're supposed to do. Your team doesn't get pumped up. There's no emotion on your team because you didn't do anything. And their team, okay. So there's no emotion for the win unless it's at the goal line and it's 4th and 1 at the goal line and you score the touchdown. Then it's worth it. Otherwise, at your own 30, 40, 50-yard line, there's no point in go. Have you heard of playing defense, punting the ball, pinning them deep, and playing defense? There seems to be a lack of understanding that you have a defense, and that's what you do is you get field position, and then you get the ball back at the 50. Now it's 1st and 10 instead of going for these 4th and 2s and 3s and 4s and all this crap that these coaches are all on drugs thinking that, oh, it's no problem. It's just 2 yards. Oh, I hate that. Where are we? San Diego. Jacksonville. Now, Jacksonville, they score 23, give up 14. They are now, where the hell are they? They are now a B team, I call it, because they are scoring 23 and they give up only 14. So when you have that, they're almost an under team. Good defense, which I knew they would because they got the kid from Georgia and they got another linebacker in a couple second or third round that are both really good. What are you going to do with Lawrence? He stinks. Most of their scoring comes when they get like a turnover in or a big strip sack, and they're at the opponent's 10-yard line, and then they drive it in. Lawrence throws for 255, mostly short shit. They only run for 110. That's their problem. Lawrence he's not a number 1 in the draft pick like Joe Burrow is, or like Rising at Utah would be, or Van Dyke at Miami would be. He's not, or McCall. He's not that type of quarterback. And he showed it at Clemson. He wasn't very good in the big games. So he's not your answer, but they're too stupid to realize it. They won't get rid of him, but they won't win with him. So 23-14. And again, they're now a kind of a B or kind of an under. So if they play a really strong defensive team, let's say they play Tampa. Tampa's the best defense in the league, giving up 7. And then Buffalo's 9. So let's say they play Tampa. I would bet the game under because they're not going to do anything. However, if they play a Tennessee that gives up 31, then they'll probably score a bit more and give up. Now the spread's still screwy. Jacksonville's getting 7 from San Diego. Seems like a big number for Jacksonville. Now, they're preventing me from betting the game over with this 14 defense and the ribs on whatchamacallit, and the ribs on Herbert, but we'll see. But so it's hard to get over on a team that gives up 14. You probably want to do I play San Diego -1, and it'll be a low-scoring game. The over-under is 48. It's very doable to go under 54 in this game because Jacksonville's going to have a problem moving on the San Diego defense. Oakland score 21, give up 27. That makes them a W team. What's a W team? A W team doesn't score a lot and has a weak defense. That's what Oakland is. They're favored at Tennessee this week. Jesus Christ. So Oakland, really weak defense. That's their problem. Carr, he's a good quarterback. Throws for 274. They run for 72. Again, you need to be able to run the ball. It does two things. It'll let you score in the red zone, and it rests your defense. And you're not resting your defense when you only run for 72 yards, and it's probably mostly Carr. You have the best running back in the league, but you chose to put him on injured reserve for the year. The kid from UTSA, Sincere McCormick is the best running back in the league, and you don't play him. You're out of your freaking mind, Oakland. Sitting him out for a year isn't going to help you because you could use him now. You wouldn't be 59 a game. You'd be probably 100 and a quarter a game. And that's what you need. So, again, you're not resting your defense, so you're giving up 27. Carr's okay. You can't count on them to win. You can count on them to maybe keep it close or an over. They're going to score. Don't like McDaniels. Don't know why they hired him. They're not going to win with him. They'll fire him in 2 years. Why waste the time? The LA Rams scored 21, give up 29. A lot of that was the Tennessee game with the 3 turnovers. So are they really defensively that bad? But that's, again, Atlanta puts up 27 on them. Even with the block punt, they still got up the other 20. Stafford throws for 256. Where's their running back? Eckler's on San Diego. They have a running back, 59 yards. Where's their running attack? If you have a running attack, Stafford doesn't throw 3 interceptions because you tire the defense out tackling, right? When the linebackers and the safeties and the corners have to come up to tackle, believe me, that takes a lot out of them. And then it opens up the passing because now they're tired and, they got to check, is there going to be a run? They have to respect the run, which they don't do now. So Flacco we're talking Stafford, that's their problem, no running. And you can see these teams that are weak don't run the ball, and then therefore it's all passing, and then you get the interceptions, and the defense gets tired. This is your problem. All right, the Jets. So what the fuck? They scored 20, give up 27. What am I calling the Jets? I'm calling them a W also. W's not a Z. So in other words, we know their defense is worse than their offense. So if it's close, it's an E, but if they score 20, give up 27, they're W. And all these are for me to quickly look at the Jets as a W going, okay, they don't have a good defense. Their offense is okay. Flacco's throwing the ball around 317 yards. A lot came last week in the fourth quarter against Cleveland, and they give up 88. So they're not running the ball either. You can't count on them as a favorite. Maybe they're okay as a dog. Probably you're going to get overs on their games with the defense giving up 27. This is why you do this exercise. You're trying to understand the defenses of the team and who do I fuck with and who don't I fuck with. And I can fuck with the Rams and the Jets and Washington, Atlanta, and Arizona. They're all giving up 29, 30, 35 points. And I know I can't bet on them because their defense sucks. And I know I got to play overs with them. Where Tampa, I can't play an over. They only give up 7 points a game. and they played Dallas, and then who did they play last week? They played New Orleans. So they're pretty strong defensively, and their offense is they need the receivers. They're all like hurt, so they got to get them back. So where am I? The Jets. So really, Flacco's keeping them in. They can score. When they play the weak teams, they might keep it close, but their defense is right now killing them, and really not. There's no running, so they don't score in the red zone, so that hurts them. Carolina scores 20, gives up 23. Mayfield, weak offense. They throw for 190. They run for 100. They don't even get 300 yards a game. I do this in college when the team doesn't, is under 300. Well, let's compare it to even a Washington's got 400 yards a game. Tom Brady's got 313. He's kind of weak. Burrow's got 380, and Winston, Tampa's, New Orleans got 379, and Green Bay and Denver have 400. So here you don't even have 300. Mayfield's got to get used to his new team. How good's their receivers? They do have the running back. I can see him, but I forget his name. Oh, shit. Anyway, they do have that, but they don't seem to have receivers. Mayfield's got to get used to it. Carolina, they're an under team. They score 20, give up 23. There's just no offense. The defense is decent. They really haven't played anybody. Weak offense. So it's hard to bet on a weak offense because you need points to cover. You're not going to get it. So then let's play it under. So they're probably more of an under team. The Giants scored 20, give up 18. Definitely an under team. Jones throws for 182. They run for 171. That's a problem. It's good that they run. Now, that's the difference, right? Look at this other, what is it? The Rams run for 59 a game. Here, the Giants are running for 171. I'm going to say it's mostly Barkley, but it's also Jones. Jones is not a good quarterback. He prefers to run than throw because he's not a good thrower. But he throws enough to get 182, but it's the balance now. So here's Barkley. You got to kind of key on him. Jones should light it up more. I don't know their receivers very well, so they need a good receiver. You can see Miami, they added Hill from Kansas City, Tyreek Hill, and now they're more explosive because they got Waddle and Hill and Gesicki. So all of a sudden, they got receivers, and anybody can really play quarterback fairly well in the NFL. And so you can see they're taking off, and then you can see the Giants probably don't have very good receivers, and they're really not, 180 a game. Probably a good mix is about 230, and you run for 170 would be ideal for your 400 yards. Green Bay's close to that. They 247, 157. That's probably ideal, what you want, 400 yards of offense, and you get enough running that the defense has to guess what you're doing. Let's see. Tampa Bay, they scored 20, give up 7. They are an under team. Or do I have them as an A? Tampa Bay. Well, I got them actually as an A, but they're really either or. They're really an under team because they only scored 20, but they only give up 7. Now, that's a defense. Brady, we know, great quarterback. They're throwing for 201. They're running for 112. So even though they're getting 313, it's not bad. Now we compare it to the Rams 315. It's 256-59. Here with Brady, it's 201, 112. I mean, it's a much better mix of offense than what the Rams are doing. And so it's a little harder. Fournette, he's good. I think they have another running back. And they got Brady who can read the defense. And that's the critical part that most of these quarterbacks can't go to the line of scrimmage and go, oh, I got to throw it here. That's their problem. Cincinnati. Now, what's Joe Burrow's problem? They're only scoring 19 a game. They're giving up 22. They're an under team. He's throwing for 269. They're running for 111, which isn't a bad mix. Their offense isn't the problem, yet they're only scoring 19 a game. And their defense isn't terrible at 22. They're just missing those kicks against Pittsburgh, they should be 1-1. Last week, what the hell did they do with Cincinnati? They lost to Dallas, who's a strong defensive team, 20-17. See, that's my point. If you're playing a strong defensive team, you're not going to light it up. If you're playing Washington, Atlanta, Arizona, you're going to Cincinnati played Arizona, they're going to score more. Cincinnati this week plays the Jets. Let's look at the Jets. So look at that matchup. The Jets score 20, give up 27. I would expect Burrow to have a field day against this defense, and this should be a win because their backs are against the wall. They're 0-2. They must win, and they get the Jets with this defense. Even though it's in New York, I don't think that matters since he's a better road team, and that's what I look at. So they're getting a weak defensive team. That's what you want. For a team in need of a win with Burrow, look for them to beat the Jets, and you got them only laying 5. You got a weak spread. I have Cincinnati -10, and the professor's spread here they're -5. So you're getting 5 points. You tease them down. So instead of having to lay 4 in a teaser, now I get 1. And I don't care what anybody says about crossing 0. That's just bullshit. I should be laying 4 in the game, and I'm getting 1. That's the bet, not, I crossed 0. I only get 5 points. Fuck it. I got Cincinnati even against this defense. Thank you very much. The Niners, again, an under team. Score 19, give up 13. Incredible defense. Garoppolo, okay. They throw 174. They're running 183 with the wide receiver, whose name I can't think of right now. I apologize for the names, but there's so much here that I'm not, let me see who we all know. I think it's Deebo Samuel on 49ers. So they're running, Trey Lance was running the ball. He wasn't even throwing it. So Garoppolo throws it better. And again, you need the balance, and they're very balanced, 174 pass, 183. Now that's a very strong offense, and that makes their defense, because they can run, give up 13. So I definitely like the Niners. They're a live team. They're an under, or did I make them I call them an under. So when they play another, now how do you play over-unders? When San Francisco plays a Denver, and Denver gives up 13, or Minnesota gives up 16, you bet that, or Tampa gives up 7. That's the under bet. 2 strong defenses, very few points scored. That's how you bet the under. You don't bet the under like Cincinnati and the Jets. I don't think I bet the under there because the Jets score enough, and Cincinnati's gives up 22. Probably not an underplay, more maybe of an overplay, because Cincinnati is better than 19 a game. New Orleans scoring 19, giving up 23. They're an under team. Not a surprise. Winston throwing for 250, a lot of interceptions. And they run for 127 with Kamara. So, again, they got Kamara, so that helps them. 19-23. So you're not going to get a lot of points. But, again, they just played Tampa, so that's going to skew their numbers. So we need a few more games. But they scored a lot on Atlanta, and then they played Tampa, and it was 20-10. So they're going to score a little for you, but, you got to be careful with them. Pittsburgh, 19-19, under team. Trubisky throws for 181, run for 83, 264 of offense. What the hell? No, this is a weak offense. You can't even call it a passing offense. It's a weak offense, 264. This is an under team. They'll play under. Who do we got this week? Pittsburgh's at Cleveland. This game, and you can see the lines, 38.5. So if we look at Cleveland, they score 28 and give up 28. So Cleveland's going to score. Pitt's going to hold them. Pitt with 19-19. Don't look for Cleveland to put up 28 in this game. But Pitt could score because Cleveland's defense. So this to me is a dog play. You take the 10.5. Pitt's defense shuts down Cleveland's offense. And, again, it's all Chubb. And then Pitt should be able to move the ball a little bit more on Cleveland, and we should get a 20-17 type of game over under 38. You might take Pitt in 10.5 or go under 44.5. Well, that's such a low under. It's hard, but I don't see this game getting getting much above 35. Probably a 21-17 type of game. I think that 38 is pretty close to what the score will be. Green Bay. Now, what's going on with Green Bay? They score 17, give up 17. They beat the Bears 27-10, get killed by Minnesota the first game. So what do you have here? You got, of course, Aaron Rodgers throws for 247, runs for 157. We got good balance with Jones, and they picked up Baylor from Oregon State, good running back. Once he gets in there. And then they have the other running back. So they're very balanced, which makes it, well, they're a little more pass, but they're getting more balance with the 157. Again, seems like a strong defense, but they played the Bears and the Vikings. So this week they've got Tampa Bay. Look for an under game. They won't be able to score that much. Tampa won't be able to score that much. This should be an under. The over-under is 41. So I don't know. It's a hard one because of Brady and Rodgers to go under because they'll figure out how to score. But we saw in the playoffs, Tampa Bay just shut out Green Bay. They know what to do, and Tampa's defense is really good. So again, Green Bay you want them against a weak defense to light it up, not a strong defense. And Chicago, they're a pretty strong defense at 19, so they did well. Denver, Russell Wilson, 16 a game, give up 13, another under team. He's throwing for 280 and they're running for 126. It's not the offense. It's either the turnovers or this let's go for it on fourth down crap. They should have more than 16 points with 400 yards of offense and Russell Wilson, but they don't. And good defense giving up 13. So, I don't know. They played a weak offense in Seattle, and then last week they played another weak offense in Houston. So is Denver's defense that strong, or they're just playing weak offenses? Again, that'll get into the play when they start playing Kansas City and San Diego in the conference and Oakland. After the KC game, then we'll really see, does the defense give up 13 or is it really like a 25? And it's just, again, when you play weak offenses, these games are going to go under. There's too many weak offenses, so you don't know what their defense is. Minnesota, 15-16, another under team. Cousins throws for 250. They're not running Cook enough. 94 yards. They should be running Cook. That's the key to it. So, and Cousins is throwing 3 interceptions. Why don't you give the ball to Cook? Let him score a few touchdowns and quit throwing interceptions in the 10-yard line. And you might have won the game against Philadelphia. So let's look at from here. San Francisco 19-13, New Orleans 19-23, Pitt 19-19, Green Bay 17-all, Denver 16-13, Minnesota 15-16, Chicago 15-19, Houston 15-18, New England 12-17, Seattle 12-22, Dallas 12-18. What the fuck is going on? That's what, 10 teams that aren't scoring 20 points, and they're not giving up 20 points. Then we get the worst team, Tennessee, scores 14, gives up 31, and Indy's scoring only 10, 20. So that's Indy's problem, right? You want to bet on Indy. They've only scored 20 points. I mean, you can't bet a team that doesn't score. Yeah, you can bet Buffalo. You can even bet Washington or Atlanta. They at least score. Arizona. San Diego, even Jacksonville's averaging 23. Well, what the hell are you going to do with Indy? They scored 10 a game. Are they favored again? No, they're getting 6.5 from KC. And you got to be kidding me. I mean, KC should hammer them. How's Indy going to score on KC? So that's really the point. So to quickly go through it, we got Cousins, Chicago, 15-19, Fields throws for 96 a game. He runs for the 140, so that's all Fields. Weak offense. Houston, 15-18. Mills throws for 209. Again, no running, 79. They don't get 300 yards of offense. Tennessee scores 14, gives up 31. Tannehill, he sucks. They don't get 300 yards of offense, 195 and 87. You got Henry on your team, and you only got 87 yards rushing? Hello. New England, 12 and 17. How the hell do you only get 12 points? Jones, 233, 101. So at least they got 334, but they got 12 points a game. Seattle, Geno Smith, 196, 56. Again, under 300 yards. Dallas, now Cooper Rush, 217, 89. They just get over the 300. And Indy with Matt Ryan is amazingly, they throw for 274, run for 116 with Taylor. They get almost 400 yards of offense, and they get 10 points a game. There's a big problem going on there that you've got the offense. I can understand, like, Houston and Chicago, they don't even get 300 yards of offense, but what the hell is Indy doing with 400 yards of offense and 10 points? Now you got a problem with the coach and whoever's calling the plays. They should be running Taylor more near the goal line, and I don't know how many turnovers. So that is the ranking of the teams. Let me go back and see questions and comments. Holy shit. Okay, Nick, hi. How are Raiders favored against Tennessee at home? I just explained that because Tennessee just blows. Good question, though, Oakland. Well, Tennessee's the worst team in the league. They're the Z team, and Oakland's a W, so they're not better. Again, the betting, the lines, the betting, they know people are going to bet Oakland over Tennessee. Tennessee's just look pathetic. I think you got to go maybe over-under on the game more so than take a team. Chris, hi, Christopher. The Bills' defense can easily keep a game from going over. Through 2 weeks, they've only given up 17 points. However, they're scoring, so the Bills are not playing under games. They are scoring a lot and getting a lot of turnovers like they did against the Rams. I have Buffalo as an A team. So, yes, they do have a good defense, but they're playing weak defensive teams, and they're scoring a lot. So when they get in against a good defensive team, and that's not what you got this week, Miami is not a good defensive team, like a Tampa Bay, like half the teams I just read. So agreed. This will be a good matchup. This is probably an over. Buffalo, Miami. The way Miami lit it up against Baltimore and the way they're still tired, I can easily see this getting high scoring. Although the over-under, you can see by the over-under, the Pitt-Cleveland game's 38, the Buffalo-Miami's 53. So it's expecting a lot of scoring after what Miami just did and what Buffalo's been doing. Where Pitt-Cleveland, they'll be lucky to hit 30. So I agree with you. Good defense, but if they play a weak offensive team, it'll probably be an under. But if they play anybody good, it's probably an over game. Nick, introducing my friend Christopher here to Ideology to Teasers. He's here to learn. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. And Christopher, please feel free to ask whatever questions. This is a classroom. I'm here to teach. So you get a better understanding of what you get into my mind, and you understand how I look at games. And that's why I'm so successful, because I don't look at it by number. I look at it by many other variables as I'm reading to you. It's really the defense that does it. Bonilla, hi. Good morning to you. Nick, going to Bengals Jets Sunday to see Burrow. Can't wait to see Burrow light it up. Go get his autograph. Did you get one of his cards yet? But take a cheap card like a Score or Topps or something that's not worth a lot, and then just have him sign it. I did that with Frank Thomas. He came. I took my daughters when they were young, and he came, and I took some scorecards that were worth like $1. And I gave it to him like he was signing autographs, and I gave him the card, and he signed both cards, and I have them. And it was kind of cool. But yeah, they'll if you get a chance. I don't know if football works like baseball is right by the dugout. Football, I don't know. It'd be hard to get his autograph, but it would be worth a lot. I think Steelers can cover 10.5. They can likely shut down Brissett in the air. Well, the key's Chubb. Can they? What are they going to do against Chubb? I agree with you, and I think Trubisky / Pickett, whoever the hell's going to quarterback, I think this will be a close game. Pitt is a strong road dog, or Cleveland's a terrible home favorite. I don't know. I do my little chart where Pitt's a good play against Cleveland here. Cleveland doesn't have the defense, so I don't know if you want to go under. It's 38.5 to 44.5. That's a bit much. However, the 10.5, I think, is a better play than you're going to play Cleveland with Brissett? No. With Chubb? No. After they just fucked up against the Jets? What was that? Who's the coach at Cleveland? That guy needs to be fired. Christopher, sorry if I missed it. Was a bit late to the stream, but I love teasing the KC spread this week. The Colts are just not going to hold back that offense. Yeah, I really like KC. They are an over team. This is one of my prime analysis. So you got KC, strong offense, average defense. They're not a great defense. They're an over team, so their defense isn't great. Against Indy, a team that scores 10 freaking points a game, what's Indy going to do? So KC's easily going to find 20, 28 points. Indy can't keep up with them. Can you go over under? If you choose, I would say this is a good under because you're not going to get points from Indy. It's 49.5. I mean, this is a great under bet, even though it's Kansas City, because Indy's not going to get you. It's like when I do the Georgia game, right? So Georgia's playing South Carolina. And what do? I lock Georgia because it was only 24. But in a normal 55, and I got Georgia 61 this week. When you get that, you just assume Georgia's shutting out the other team. So is Georgia going to get 65 points on their own? And they don't normally. Once they get into the 40s, they just run the ball and they just run the clock, and you can't score on them. And it ends up 45. All the Georgia games are like, just like last week, 45-0, 45-7. That's what they do. 48-7. They get into the 40s and they just run the ball. And the coach is nice. He doesn't like try to put a 70 up like Ohio State does. And that you bet them under like 90 times out of 100, unless the spread was so low last week at 24. I knew the 18, why I didn't lock it. I need my head examined because there was no doubt Georgia was going to kill South Carolina, because that's why I locked Arkansas against South Carolina. Rattler stinks. He couldn't hold the job at Oklahoma. How can you not hold that job? It's a quarterback frenzy job. So if you can't hold it, it tells me you're not very good. And now he comes to South Carolina, and I lock Arkansas against them. They win by 14. Georgia should have locked against them. Again, 48. He threw for 100 yards and 2 interceptions. I thought he'd throw 3 interceptions, so my fault. But that's what you're looking for. So you're looking for the breakdown. Can they score? If the team can't score, then do you play the team or the over-under? And you're getting 0 from the one team, like Houston or Chicago. You're not getting points from them. So then it becomes, who are they playing? And so let's break down Chicago this week. Where the hell are they? Chicago. They're playing Houston. Okay, now somebody needs to explain. Cleveland's 38.5. Cleveland scores. Houston, Chicago, why is the over-under 40.5? This should be like 30. So there you go. You've got 2 unders playing each other. There isn't even a question, Nick, about playing this game under. This very well could be my lock in my first pro lock, because this is such you've got to be kidding me. 40.5. Where are they going to score points? Chicago can't score. You can't lie on Fields to throw a pass 10 yards down the field to the right team. Houston's even worse. They both have good defenses. Where are you going to find 20 points in the game? More or less, we tease it to 46.5. And that answers the question of the guy asking me about teasers. We got to bet before the game. It's 40.5. The odds on me winning at 40.5 are good. Taking it under 46.5, the odds on me winning would go from maybe 70% to probably 95%, right? Now I can bet more on the game going, there's no fucking way they're getting the 46.5 in Houston, Chicago. And that's the whole point of it. That's why you do the teaser, because you got to end Pitt, Cleveland. I'll take Pitt in 10.5. My odds on winning are much better than the 4.5. They could easily, Cleveland could win by 6 or 7 points. But now they got to win by more than 10. And in the NFL, if they're up 13, Pitt scores a late touchdown, because they're not trying to run it up like Ohio State and Alabama. They're trying to just win. So they'll just run the ball into the line and punt. The other team comes down. It's all pros. They can move down the field and score on you and take a 12-point game down to 5. And look what Miami did, right, against Baltimore, right? They score late, get the onside kick, or the Jets. I mean, the Cleveland let them score. They didn't put up more points. The Jets score. Now they're down 7. So even if they just finish down 7, you got a winner. And then they go and they win the game. Like, what the fuck? But, Pitt should score more on it. I think that over-under is really low. Nick, going with my Burrow jersey and bringing a card, hoping I don't know where he would autograph, but it would probably be after the game in the parking lot type of thing. Like when the players leave, you're not going to get on the field. You're not going to walk on where the bench is and go, Joe, I need an autograph. He's not going to do that. Like I said, you can possibly do it when they leave, or maybe if you get there real early and he gets off the bus. But even then, the bus is dropping him at the front door. It's going to be very hard, especially it's in New York, to get close enough to him for the autograph. That'll be a hard one. You're probably just better off at a card show, but that would be the best way, because when they leave, then you can probably, with the Burrow jersey, you'd get his attention, and you can probably ask a guard, like, I'm a big Burrow fan. I'd like to get his autograph. Where do they come out? And they probably come out 45 minutes after the game to get on the bus to go back to the airport to fly back to Cincinnati. Or your other option is to fly to Cincinnati and meet him off the plane. But it's going to be hard to get him where he can sign for you. It's only going to be after the game, on the way to the bus. You flash the jersey, and he'll come up to you and say, Joe, I'm a huge fan. Can you sign it? You probably would get an autograph wearing that jersey in New York. That'll probably be the only way. So let's go through the pros. Now, I'm really not ready to pick, but I am ready to. I've got the formula I've got is the ranking of the teams, which they changed so much from last year to this year. Jacksonville had Urban Meyer. Now they got some other coach. They're playing, and that's why I go through the stats. You can see who's balanced, who's weak. Look at all the weak offense. There's 6 offenses that don't get 300 yards a game. What the fuck is that? This is pro football, the way that's set up. They should all do that. They don't run enough. Everybody wants to pass, but when you get inside the red zone, you need to run. On first and goal at the 5 should be 2 runs and a Dave Casper. And the Dave Casper is the play action pass tight end, which is supposed to be done on second and short near the goal line. You play action. Casper fakes the block and is. Have you ever seen anybody within 10 yards of Casper on that? Excuse me. What the hell is this? I will take that later. I apologize. Let me actually take the phone so I can mute it. Okay. All right, then vibrate. So apologize. I lost my train of thought, but that's how the teams change. See, that's what we're looking for, is who's who, right? We found Kansas as an over team. Well, they were a Z team last year. We'd be betting against Kansas. I locked Kansas last week against Houston on an over, and they won by 30 points over. I mean, they played an 85-point game, and it was raining and everything else. So that's really what you're who's what? Who's the new Houston? Who's the new Kansas? What is this? My friend always calls it the wrong time. And if I'm in the middle of something, he calls. Otherwise, if I'm waiting, he doesn't call. Or if I go call him, he doesn't answer. Anyway, so that's what you're looking for, is the new teams, right? We found Baylor. We found Oregon State last year on the balance. Who do we find this year? And that's why you keep the stats. The problem is in college, these Division II games, which really fuck you up when UNLV beats somebody 63-0. Oh, that's now it does show you their scoring. And now when I look at their stats, they are scoring more. But again, I got the 63-0 game in there. So you got to pull that out. And are they really an over team? Now, Maryland did that a couple of years ago. They put up 73-0 over, Albany State. And when you pulled that out, so as about 6 or 7 weeks came in, and they're at 29 offensively. But when you pulled it out, the 70 points out, they were a 20-point offense. That's a huge difference because now I can bet them under or bet against them. But when I think they scored 29 a game, well, what kept happening is they were scoring like 10 points. I'm going, wait a minute, I thought they were an over team. Pulled that game out, and I realized, no, they're a 20-point game. They're an under team. And so that's huge because that's what we're looking for. So in this situation, so when we go through the new team, so let's go through the games. I'm not really going to pick, but we can make our comments. Pitt, Cleveland 4.5, 38.5. Cleveland's an over team, Pitt's an under team. So you would think that it would be a little bit low scoring. Can Pitt score enough to cover do you go 10.5 or do you take Cleveland plus 1.5? And I think we all think Pitt and 10.5. They should be able to keep it. I don't see Cleveland now. If Chubb goes off and gets some late runs and scores, well, that's how they're going to cover. Otherwise, if Pitt keys on them and that. So I'll go through the history of Pitt, Cleveland, and see how they play each other. Houston, Chicago, 2 unders. We just about it. Chicago's laying 3. What are you going to do? I mean, you take Houston in 9? No. I mean, the only way to play the game is under. Oakland, Tennessee. Oakland's a W, Tennessee's a Z. So Tennessee sucks, but they played 2 road games, one at Buffalo, and where the hell week 1 was. Actually, they played at home and lost to the Giants. They lost to the Giants. They lost to Buffalo, so they're pretty bad. That's why Nick Oakland's favored because Tennessee's terrible. They scored 10 points a game. That's their average. So you really got to look at what Tennessee got. So they scored 7 and they scored 27. That's wrong. They scored 13 a game. So they don't score a lot. Do I have them? Just a second. I thought I had them at 10. Oh, that's Indy at 10. Yeah, Tennessee's 14. Okay, that's right. So Indy's I don't have an offense team. So yeah, Tennessee, they're pretty weak. Now, again, you get skewed by the Buffalo game. And I'm sure there were turnovers there. So can Oakland win? Now you got to trust Daniels. He's such a bad coach. You got Carr. You think you have the offense. They've got to run Henry eventually. So what's Oakland going to do? I don't know. Does Tennessee have what do you do over under maybe? Maybe go over with Oakland. But it's a real bad game. You can't take Tennessee. They're so bad. But how do you trust Oakland? Oakland in 4, maybe if Tennessee goes favored, then I can see taking Oakland. But that's when I just throw out. I don't know. I can't trust either team. KC's an over against Indy's the Z team that doesn't score. Yes, this is all KC. Laying 6.5, laying even. Mahomes, what's Indy going to do with that? It doesn't matter where KC plays. That's definitely a KC game. Buffalo, Miami. Buffalo, the A team. Miami's a B team. Big comeback against a terribly coached Baltimore team. What happens here? It's in the heat. Over under a 53. Buffalo scores. Buffalo's laying 5.5. Can I trust Buffalo after what happened with Baltimore? So Miami beats a good Baltimore team. I think Miami in 11.5 is probably going to be a pretty good play. Buffalo now, plus a half. Is Buffalo that strong? And that's always my argument. This is where I don't really trust Josh Allen. If Miami gangs up and doesn't let him run, can he beat you throwing? Yeah, he can. Now, for sure, Baltimore put up 100 points last week. So Miami doesn't have that good defense, but Miami is getting. How is Buffalo's defense? Are they going to, do they make a lot of sacks? Are they going to get to Tagliavua? They don't really run that well, but they do pass. So this is what you have to see. Well, what are they going to do with Tyreek Hill? Now he's getting used to Tyreek Hill and Waddle. And you can see they're double teaming Hill and everybody, and Waddle's catching 11 passes. And Gaminsky's sitting there. The tight end is a very good weapon. So I think 11.5 in Miami or the over is probably the way to play this game. I don't know. To me, Buffalo is not, all that. And are they going to win by 30? Now, if you're afraid of Buffalo and you don't believe what you saw last week in Baltimore, then maybe you play the game over because Buffalo will score a lot. And it seems like Miami, well, Buffalo, I don't think has that. This isn't the Bears 84 defense I'm looking at. So, Christopher, it was good to see Allen only rush one time for 10 yards against Tennessee. Need more of that. Well, look what happened with Trey Lance. This is why I make those comments, right? Trey Lance breaks his ankles out for the year. You can't just get another quarterback. Now, they happen to have Garoppolo, but if he goes down, what do? That's really what I'm trying to say. And that's really my point with Lamar Jackson. He hurt his knee. He's gone last year. Same thing here. Josh Allen needs to be the quarterback. Now, if he runs and they take him out and they take his knee out, what's Buffalo going to do? They're done. Does he need to run? No. You've got Cook apparently from Georgia who fumbled once. Oh my God. But that's why you don't run the guy. You need him as the quarterback, not as the running back. And that's what I always bitch about Lamar Jackson. He doesn't really look to throw. He looks to run, and he's going to get a Trey Lance, and then he's out. He got a Trey Lance last year. This is the problem with the running quarterback. They're going to get hurt, and you need a quarterback who can throw the ball accurately. So Tagliavua looked much better last week. So he's got Hill, and, even he can't screw up having Hill and Waddle. So that's the point there. So I think this is either Miami and 11.5 at home in the heat, or you go over the 47. Again, this is where the teaser comes in. 47 is much more doable than 53. 47 is 28-20. So we go back to square one. Buffalo at Miami, give me a score. And do you see both teams in the 20s? Absolutely. Can they get into the 30s? Absolutely. Buffalo has been high scoring. Miami showed you high scoring. They don't have a defense. I'm not quite sure about Buffalo's defense. Are they going to be that good in Miami in the heat? They should get tired. So I can easily see this game being a 30-20, 32-26 would not be out of line. Should be a competitive game. And then that covers your 47. So of the overs, I think this is a good possibility. Detroit's an over team, no defense, but they're scoring and they're balanced. Minnesota, I got them as an under. They didn't really light up Green Bay, and they certainly didn't light up Philly. Too many interceptions, not running enough. Lane 6, well, you can't trust Detroit to win a game, so that's out. Do I trust Minnie? Well, we just looked at a Monday night. Over under a 53.5. Well, I got a problem with that. I got an under team in Minnesota. Is Cousins, which Cousins is going to show up? Can he light it up and put up a 30? Do you see a 32-26 game here? I don't know. Detroit seems like they can score. It's almost like Detroit in 12 seems to be the best way to play this because they should score. Minnie doesn't score enough. Minnie's defense will shut them down to a point. Over under 53.5 with Minnesota's hard because they don't score that much, and they should run Cook more. So they should control the ball. I can see like a 20-20 type of game, but I think Detroit in 12 is offensively playing well. Defense, they suck. So can they stay within 12? I don't know. That's where, do you really want to bet on a Detroit? whatever you do, they'll fuck you over. So look at Washington. I had Washington, and they missed 2 extra points, and I lose by 1. I mean, that's Detroit for you. Baltimore, an over against New England and under. Baltimore laying 43.5. Tough pick. I have Baltimore -7. I don't know what to do here. I got an over team in Baltimore. Not a lot of defense with New England. Not a lot of offense. They're not going to come. I got 3, so I can get 3 in Baltimore. I don't like that. I'd rather get 3.5 or 4. That's different. So if the line goes to 2 or 1.5, I can see taking Baltimore. Which Lamar Jackson shows up. Belichick's going to have some exotic defense for him. Do I go under or over 43.5? Well, I'm not going to get points from New England, although I might get some because Baltimore's defense sucks. I know I'm going to get scoring from Baltimore, but how much? So this is a very tricky over versus under, type of game where you really, how many points can New England put up? Not a lot. So let's look at New England last week. They played Pitt to a 17-14. Now, Pitt's got a good defense. Baltimore, you think, has a good defense. Now, the difference is New England does not have the receivers Miami did. They don't have Waddle and they don't have Hill. So it's a whole different look. That's why it's all matchup. So New England doesn't have those type of receivers to bother Baltimore. That makes the matchup different. So now you're looking at, well, maybe New England doesn't score that much. Now, does that make Baltimore +3 better, or does that make it under where Baltimore wins maybe 28-10? I can see that type of game. Cincinnati and under versus the Jets, Jets, who right now I have as a W, but I think they're moving up a little to an E. Week 1 is their problem. All right, they lost 24-9 to Baltimore, and that's almost what I might get with the New England game, 24-9. The Jets are kind of weak defensively. Offensively, they got all these late scores last week to cover against Cleveland. Cincinnati doesn't. They are an under team. They have a pretty good defense, but I don't know. I think this turns to a back against the wall game that Cincinnati must win or they're down 0-3. And I think if you're going to bet Cincy, you bet them this week. And if you lose with them again, you lose with them again. But I think this is, they played Dallas tough. And the first week they should have beat Pitt they could have made the extra point. They do play better on the road. I think Cincy must win this game. So they're playing a Jet team, yes, Flacco, who looks pretty good, or at least against Cleveland. But I don't know. That's where I'm kind of sitting there going, I don't know. I can play the Jets in 11. It might be okay, but I think Cincy, this is the game they have to win. And I think the matchup, the Jets being weak defensively, I think this is where Burrow starts lighting it up. And they could pound the Jets. Again, they're motivated emotionally. Philly and Washington. Philly is a B team, so they're not quite an A team, but they score a lot and have fairly good defense against Washington, who's an over team. They, look at what they're doing. They give the Lions 36 points, so they can't stop the win. Philly's been playing good. Do you take Philly even? Do you go over 47-41? I think either way. I think Philly can certainly looks like they're scoring. How do they play Washington? This is when I got to go to the history of Philly versus Washington. And then I got to look at probably over 41. Seems very low for a Washington team that gives up 30 and a Philly team that certainly can score. So I think this becomes a higher scoring game. So I think this is more of an over in my mind. New Orleans, Carolina, this is an under game. Both teams are under. Hard to score. New Orleans is favored by 3 at Carolina. Winston shows up. Do you see this is a 40. So do you go under 46 or over 34? What do you think the score is going to be? Are they going to get into the 20s or not? Do they have the defense? Now, I'm showing them under, so that means they both have decent defenses. They held Tampa to 20, so I'm on the under from that standpoint. Carolina, low scoring, so this could be an under game. Do you take Carolina 9? New Orleans is weird. They're a very good road favorite, actually. So hard to say. We need more information on this. Jacksonville, San Diego. Jacksonville's actually a B team. They've been a Z team for years. They're now scoring and playing defense. They got the Georgia guys, so that helps. San Diego is an E team, so they're scoring 25, giving up 25. -7 at home in a 48. A matching trend. You bet against San Diego, you bet against Jacksonville. San Diego is one of these teams. They're a strong road dog, as we pointed out, but they're a weak home favorite. Jacksonville is a weak road dog. So you got weakness against weakness. Again, what do you think the score is? And this is where I'm struggling in the pros. I can give you Georgia wins 48-0 against South Carolina, which I did. Here, I don't know what the score is. I don't know how strong Jacksonville is. Now, let's see. This is where you go back and you look at the Jacksonville game against Indy. Well, Indy doesn't have an offense, so to win 24-0 doesn't show you. So we go back to week one, but week one really doesn't show you anything. They lose to Washington 28-22. Again, that's week one, no exhibition, so it's almost like you can't use that, but you do see that Washington could throw the ball against them. And Indy doesn't have that type of offense at this point with Ryan. San Diego, Herbert definitely can throw the ball. I don't know the record if San Diego's 1-1 or 0-2. San Diego, what did they do last week? They lost to Kansas City and they beat Oakland, yeah. So they're 1-1. They've been close games. They played with KC and they played with Oakland. Here you got them against Jacksonville. So the old Jacksonville, this would be a lock. Take San Diego -1. This Jacksonville, again, it goes to Herbert. If his ribs are okay and he's fine, then I would think San Diego gets the win because I don't trust Trevor Lawrence. And I think San Diego's played better teams in KC and Oakland and played them close. But again, this probably will end up being a 3 or 4 point game. Does it go over? Probably. San Diego's defense, Jacksonville should score. You're not stopping Herbert as long as he's healthy. 42, which is 24-20, you got the over. That I can easily see in the San Diego game scoring in the 20s. Christopher, my concern with the Saints is Winston. Yeah, absolutely. He's dealing with a few fractured vertebrae. Don't even know why he's playing, to be honest. Well, he's playing because he finally has the opportunity because everybody booed him off because he sucked at Tampa. I'm concerned because he's not a good quarterback and he's going to throw interceptions. So if we go back to New Orleans against Carolina, is he out there? Who's their backup? Well, the backup's Taysom Hill, who's better. Does that affect the over-under? I don't know. But so that's what we're at with San Diego. I think you can go over in the game because Jacksonville's showing an offense or at least scoring points. We'll see. The Rams against Arizona. The Rams are a W team because of the Buffalo game. So if we look at them last week, they barely beat Atlanta. Arizona gets the big win against the Raiders, and it gets blown out in the first week. They're an over team, so Stafford should have a big day. They're not going to hold Murray down. Over under 49, I think you go down to 43, you're going to get a 24-20 game. I don't see how you don't with Murray, and they don't have a defense. Stafford should light it up. Again, they're 1-1. They barely played against Atlanta. Look for them to turn it on a little bit. I can't lay 3.5 with LA, but Arizona is terrible at home. This is not tease Arizona plus 9.5. They are terrible at home. If you play the Rams. I think this leans to an over-under type of pick. Atlanta, Seattle. Atlanta, I have as an over. They're scoring and giving up. Seattle is an under, can barely score. Seattle is the favorite here, laying 2, and the over-under of 42. Seattle, you're not going to get a lot of points with Geno Smith, although hopefully they'll run Walker from Michigan State more. Um, it's almost like you take Atlanta and 8 because they're going to score, and Seattle doesn't score that much. So Seattle gets 14. All I need 7 from Atlanta, who's a fairly high-scoring team. Do you go over under 42? It's hard with an over playing an under to play the game over under because you don't know which team. Seattle's not going to score a lot. So it almost leads you to take, okay, I got to trust Atlanta with the points, but how the hell can you bet Mariota? He's terrible. So you end up where it's a very tough. Do you go over 36 or under 48? I think it's the only way to play this because they'll probably get to Mariota, but how good Seattle? Again, I got them as an under, so not very good. Green Bay is actually an under against Tampa Bay's an A. I think Green Bay in the long run will be a B team, maybe an A team. Again, that first week with Minnesota skewing their stats, and then Green Bay destroys a weak Bears offense. So Tampa Bay, the A team, I got 2.5, 41.5. Green Bay, an under team. We know they're not an under team. We know Rodgers is going to get you in the 20s. We know Brady should get you in the 20s. An over under a 41.5, Brady versus Rodgers. Are you kidding me? All I got to do is go over 35.5, which is 20-17 as a winner. You don't think you're going to get 20-17 in Rodgers against Brady? Tampa's defense is playing good, but Rodgers will find 14 points. Brady will find 20 points. I mean, that just about gets you there. There's a little trend on Tampa at home and Green Bay not being that strong on the road. Will the heat bother them? We know Rodgers has a tough time in Florida. Can I bet? I would think Brady wins the game. I get 3.5, 4.5 with Brady. I think that's a winner because of the defense. But I'm really looking at that over of 41.5, figuring, okay, Green Bay shut down the Bears, who suck, and then week 1, what was the mini game, which you can't even count because of so they beat Mini. They lose to Mini 23-7. So Mini gets 23 on them. Forget the 7, Rodgers didn't play. Then Rodgers gets 27 last week. Look for Green Bay in the 20s. Look for Tampa in the 20s. It's a 40-point game. You can go over 35.5. That's a joke, I think. The Niners in Denver, they're both under teams. The Niners minus 1.5. At Denver is Russell Wilson struggling. The Niners are an under team. Both have pretty good defenses. Again, over under 45 when it should be 30. How does Tampa with Brady and Rodgers only get a 41? And then here's 2 good defensive under type of teams that don't score a lot with the 45. So this seems like go under. I don't know that I trust Frisco to beat Denver at Denver because of the mile high, but they're not playing well. Frisco in 4.5 is probably not bad. Probably better than taking Denver in 7.5. But I think you bet this under because there's 2 unders. And then the last game, Dallas and the Giants, is also under versus under. Now look at the difference. The Niner game's 45. The Dallas Giant game's 40. Same under type of teams. I have Dallas laying 3, even with Cooper Rush. Spread is the Giants minus 2. By the way, I had Denver minus 3, and the Niners are 1.5. So a couple of missed spreads there. I have Dallas minus 3, the Giants minus 2. Are the Giants really any good? They beat Tennessee, who, as we see, is the Z team. Last week, they beat Carolina 19-16, who's another weak team. So now they get Dallas, very strong defensive team. The Giants are going to run Barkley. Again, I see this as an under 40-46. Makes me want San Francisco, Denver under more because I can get 51. It's sort of like last week. I have in college, there's Minnesota, who's a strong under, Wisconsin, and then there was Iowa, and then there was Washington State. And I locked Washington State because the over-under was 53, and I had more room to play. The Wisconsin minis were 47. So I had to go under 53, which was more risk than the Washington State 53 under 59. And that's why I locked Washington State, and they played a 30-point game. And that's what I've been doing with Georgia the last 2 years. they've been in the 50s. So Georgia under 57, 58 is a joke. Had they been in the 40s, I don't know if it was 42, I doubt I'd be locking Georgia under. But because it's 50 something, and you're tending to look at going, well, shit, that's a 60-point game with Georgia's defense. And no, you're not going to score on them. So Georgia, if we look at Georgia this week, I thought I saw 61. Yes, they're playing Kent State, who is a very good, balanced team, but not this year. It was 33-30 to Oklahoma, 45-20 to Washington. And then they blew out a Division II team. So they're a very good offense, but not in this case. How the hell do you get 61.5 in a Georgia game? 61.5 with Kent State. They're laying 44. Now, here's where you go Georgia under versus laying the 38. Although the 38 is obviously going to be a winner. This will be maybe 51-0 because it's Kent State. But, Georgia will get up 50 and run the ball. You got 67 in a Georgia game. Oh, my God. Against Kent State. I mean, it's not Alabama or USC. Now, USC, maybe you see a 61, but not in this. You got to be – so that's my point. It's too high. If it was 41, I might think about it. 61, it's automatic Georgia under. And that's what I'm saying here. Frisco, Denver, 45, automatically under 51. Dallas and the Giants, 40, or the other game, Pitt, Cleveland at 38 is an awfully low to go under on. But some of these just, I guess that was the only one that was really low was Pitt, Cleveland at 38.5. I think that's kind of, you want to go under with Pitt, but it's such a low under, it's very hard to do it. But see, you can see the ingredients. Pitt, defensive team, has Trubisky. He's not going to kill you, but he's not going to light it up. You just keep playing them under. Or in this case, because they're playing at Cleveland, you can take the 10.5. If they're playing a Baltimore, well, they'll play Baltimore. They're probably a live dog there because they're used to Jackson. Buffalo, they won at Buffalo last year against like a Rams or KC. They play them very well. So they know how to run the ball, run the clock, and play defense. That's what Pitt does. So very well coached. One of the few very well coached teams, maybe the Rams, maybe Frisco's got a good coach. Sometimes his head up his ass when he's got a big lead and he doesn't know how to run the ball. But that's enough said there. So do you take Dallas an 8 against this Giant team? And you absolutely could versus the under, because the under's 40, 46 is pretty low, but getting 8 and Dallas is probably a pretty good play there. So, we need a little bit more study of the inside, right? Dallas plays the Giants twice a year. What normally happens? I don't mind Prescott out for Rush. I think that's a benefit for Dallas. I think Rush is a very good quarterback, and I think Prescott can't read defenses and throws way too many interceptions, and he wants to run too much. That's why he's injured again. Well, this is his hand, but he's got to realize that the guy has his hand in front of him. I can't just make the normal throw. That's why you see Mahomes throw it sideways, right? He doesn't want to break his thumb. He sees what's going on, and he throws it sideways, and he doesn't really get hurt too much. That's what Prescott needed to do in that case, is throw a 3/4, a baseball throw. To Russell Wilson does that. He very rarely gets hurt on the hand or breaks his thumb. He got hurt, his foot last year or his knee or something, but he doesn't really get hurt too often either. But if people say Russell Wilson's not good, then they're just idiots. He's extremely good. He's good to bet on. He just needs to get used to it. As far as I know, the receivers are out. Judy and the kid from Penn State are both questionable or doubtful. Those guys are out. I'm telling you, these Alabama receivers are always injured. They're just terrible pros. They don't know how to stay healthy like the LSU guys do. So what was so Denver, Frisco? What was I thinking? Anyway, so that's kind of a brief look of what's going on. I think I'm fairly about 85, 90% accurate with my teams. Casey's at over, Indy's the new Z team. And they're the only real Z team. Oakland's the W. Tennessee's a Z team. Oakland's kind of weak. Their coach sucks. The Jets are not a Z team. You come back and beat Cleveland the way you did, shows something. And then I actually have the Rams as a W team just with the stats, but they're clearly a B team. And then Green Bay really isn't an under team. They're really a B team. So as the season progresses, that's why you really throw out week one. I mean, you keep it in the stats because it's against the pros, but you really got to be careful with that. So the other lesson is you got to keep an eye on the injuries. You got to keep an eye on the standings. Cincinnati at 0-2. Is anybody else 0-2 who really is a good team? I don't think so. The Raiders are 0-2. That could be why they're favored, Nick. They are 0-2 and they must win the game. It's hard to go 0-4, 0-5 and make the playoffs, which is what these guys' goals are. So, yeah, I'd look for Oakland to play a weak Tennessee team very good. You might want to go, well, I don't know what you do with it. Tennessee's got a weak defense. I think Oakland should light it up against Tennessee with Carr and Adams. They should do that, even as bad as the coach is, Daniels. But that's what you're looking for. So, again, we're looking to bet against the weak defenses and the weak teams. So that would be bet against Indy, bet against Tennessee. And they're really the only, I can't really say. Maybe the Jets, are they really a W? Are they really a Z? Are they really an even team? Yeah, what they did against Cleveland, but then how good's Cleveland? So let's see. The Jets do this against Cincinnati, then it's different. But I think Cincinnati needs the game. I think Pitt should play competitively. San Diego, this is a good one. The Rams, I think, need the game. Green Bay, Tampa should be a very good game. You got your unders, Frisco, Denver, Dallas Giants, Atlanta, Seattle. I don't know what, you got a mess there. New Orleans, Carolina, you got a mess there. And Philly, Washington should be an over. So, again, these are my thoughts. I'll probably generate picks for college today. I kind of know what I want. And then the pros, I have a few good thoughts from what I just did. And a lot of this, when I'm going over it with you, I'm also gaining clarity on what I want to do. Sometimes talking it out helps. So anyway, watch the 0-2s. Cincinnati, this is do or die. Backs against the wall. We always take that team. College will take a look. And so I'll probably post some tonight, Nick, or today. And I think that's about it. Switching to economics real quick. That's what I do. Look for the shit to hit the fan soon. China announces that they have 25,000 tons of gold. Look out. Gold's going to run. All I can say is you just got to understand the U.S. doesn't want the dollar to compete with gold because it can't. And anybody that knows anything, all these Federal Reserves are, what are they doing? Buying gold. I showed you where that one company bought 500 million ounces or dollars worth of gold. Why would they do that? Why are the central banks buying gold? And so the U.S. can't buy gold because then it'll look like the U.S. dollar's in bad shape, which it is. They're getting off of it. It's the world reserve currency, but only because of oil. And now Saudi, they pissed off. And I think they do it on purpose. It's almost like they just want to go to this digital currency and they just want to blow up the dollar. Well, gold's going to go through the roof and it won't even be priced in dollars anymore. And then what's happening, just a quick side note, is there's so many cars that are being repossessed because people can't afford the payments. Now, I don't know. I just paid off my car. I got a fixed rate at 2%. I don't know who gets a variable rate in a car. In a house, yes. So if you've got all these repossessions, what's going to happen to houses? So if you own the car, what do? You need money. I got an ounce of gold for the car. I got an ounce of gold for your house. There's going to be houses that they're going to start foreclosing on, which is margin call, Nick, and they're going to start, inventory going to swell up, which lowers the price. People can't afford it because of the high interest rates, because of the inflation. So you're going to have this huge housing bust. Prices will drop. Nobody can get a loan because it's too expensive and nobody has money. And then you come in with your gold or your silver. Don't worry, Nick, 4 or 5 ounces of silver, I'll buy you a house, a nice house. And they'll want real money, and the only real money is going to be gold and silver, and that's what's going to happen. So that's why I say it, because I know what's going to happen. I'm not guessing. It's not an opinion. It's not I'm trying to sell you anything. I don't sell you anything. I don't sell gold and silver. But that's what's going to happen. I'm just trying to educate you. Please understand that. You can still get the silver dirt cheap. It's going to be $2,000-$3,000 an ounce. You can get it for $23. Where else can you get something like that? But you got to understand the psychology of the U.S. wants to keep fucking around with this COMEX bullshit to keep the price down so nobody's interested. Well, buy gold and silver. Well, the price doesn't move. That's not the real price, but that's what people think. They're in the stock market. Well, guess what's going to happen to the stocks? They're all tanking. If you are in the stock market, you get out. If you're in the bank, get your money out. At least put it in your safe. I mean, you can't leave it in the bank, because what's going to happen is you're going to go into the bank. Sorry, you don't have any money. You're not going to be able to get it out. I guarantee it. Look what happens in China, Sri Lanka, Greece. They pull this bullshit, and then it's going to, well, we're coming out with digital dollars. So you had 100,000 US. Now you don't have anything. Or we converted it to 10,000 digital dollars. And by the way, we're going to track everything you do. It's just bullshit. So anyway, that's what's happening. So please be careful. Christopher, I'm in the real estate industry in the DC area. The feds are determined to crush the housing market now. Well, I don't know if it's the feds, but it's basically the inflation is killing it, and the interest rates are killing it. And inflation, I mean, you only have so much money, right? We can't print money the way the government can. So when that happens, I'm glad you're not in China, because they've collapsed. Evergrande collapsed, and they blew up all these housing. They do high rises in China. They blow them all up. So they had like 20 buildings that they couldn't finish. They just blew them up. So it's all over. Housing is just getting crushed because you can't afford the extra cost, because your electric bill is going up, your gas going up, your food's going up. You don't have extra money. And the problem is a lot of people have credit card debt. And then what does Chase do? Well, you're paying 8%. Now you're going to pay 12%, because we got to get our money back. And that's what happens. So if I loan somebody $20,000, I want to get back $22,000. Well, how do I do that? Well, the only way to get back more than I'm loaning, to take on the risk of getting paid back, I have to then add a 10% interest rate. So I get $22,000 back, because the dollar's going down in value. So I'm getting inflated dollars back versus that. So just be careful with that. That's what you got to understand. And that's what they're doing, and they're doing it on purpose. And it's absolutely ridiculous. So just please be careful. But don't trust the government. Don't trust the Fed. You can see, just do a search on car repossessions, and you'll see it's huge, because people can't afford them. Same thing with houses. People aren't going to be able to afford everything. It's just, and then that's where gold and silver will go up, because as the dollar gets crushed, the only place to go is real dollar, or the baseball Mickey Mantle cards, or Burrow or Brady or whatever. Those will go up in value because they're real assets. The cryptos will go to zero. The stock market will go to zero. The housing market will go down. The cars will go down. All that is going to happen because of costs going up. That's what happens when things are more expensive. You have less money. So please keep that in mind. We got to understand the fundamentals. Like I break down football, right? You have Frisco and Denver, 200 teams. The spread's 45.5. We're going under because they got good defenses and no scoring. That's the point. That's why. And this is the why of that. As things, inflation's printing the dollar. It's got nothing to do with pricing. That's the effect. So it as the value of the dollar drops, prices go up because they really don't. It just takes more dollars because they've lost value to buy the same goods. So you want to go buy Cheerios. Cheerios didn't raise their price, but the dollar's worth less, so it costs more dollars to buy the same Cheerios. That's what's going on. You don't measure it by prices. You measure it by the dollar dropping. So that's what's going on. So that's why you buy the gold and silver, because you can buy a nice house with an ounce of gold, because what are they going to take? They're not going to take US dollars because nobody wants it, which leaves you with, maybe you can buy it with a Mickey Mantle card, or you can buy it with an ounce of gold, something with real value. And that's what you're trying to do. So that's why I keep buying silver. I bought 25 ounces Saturday, and it was $23 an ounce. I'm laughing. I mean, I'm looking at the owner of the store like, what are you doing? Why are you selling this cheap? Are you insane? Don't you know it's $2,000 an ounce coin? I mean, well, it's not even going to be that, because the dollar collapses. It won't even be priced in dollars. It'll be, oh, you want a car? Give me 3 ounces of silver, and you can have a Mercedes. And what eventually you'll do, you'll take your silver, you'll take 5 or 6 ounces and buy an ounce of gold with it. Because it'll eventually, what's supposed to happen is gold's 1,800, silver's 23. It's supposed to be 5 times. So if gold's, let's say 2,000, we'll keep it easy. Silver should be 500, right? It should be 4 or 5 times the price. So as gold goes to 20,000, silver goes to 5,000. That's where it should go. That's what I'm saying. Gold is for sure at 20,000, if not 50,000. And silver is got to keep in correlation. It is money, and it's needed. And it's funny, these electric vehicles, they all need silver in the freaking battery, and there isn't enough of it. So that's what's happening. So central banks are buying gold hand over fist. If they're doing it, I'm doing it. So buy as much as you can. I've got some on credit cards. So I do have some credit card debt, but I don't care. I'd rather have the gold, because I'll sell an ounce of gold to pay off the credit card, or an ounce of silver with no problem. But do be careful. Buy your food. I would go and buy, like where I go, the hamburger's still like $5 a pound for 90% sirloin. Go buy 20 pounds, throw it in your freezer, because that's going to go through the roof, and just everything's going to really hit. And because it hasn't hit yet, you think, well, no, everything will be fine. Everything's not fine. Take a look at fucking Europe. Take a look at Japan. Take a look at China. Just watch my YouTube stuff on that I show, and you'll see it's not fine. Europe's fucked, and Japan's fucked, and Italy's fucked, UK's fucked. They're all fucked, and it's coming here, because who buys our goods? If they're fucked and they can't buy our goods, then what happens? And we don't really have a lot of goods anyway, but we buy mostly from China. So anyway, there won't be a war with China because we need to buy their stuff. But this whole BRICS, China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, India thing, and India is buying gold hand over fist and giving it to Russia for oil. That's what's happening, and it's going unreported. So they are buying gold and silver like it's water, and just be careful. Just get in on the party. Don't fuck around with, well, the prices aren't high, it's not worth anything. Go, I'm getting a $2,000 ounce of silver for $23. All you got to think about. And by Christmas, you're going to go, fuck, the professor was right. I survived, because otherwise you're going to lose all your money in the bank, and on the stock market, you're going to lose it, or Bitcoin. Stocks can't go up in this economy because the stock market is based on earnings, and earnings are going to drop because prices are up. If prices are up, you buy less, because you don't have a printing machine. So that's what's going to happen. So be careful in the stock market. Get the fuck out, buy your gold and silver. It's the only safe place, and it's the only thing that hasn't gone up. The U.S. is keeping it down because they want you to because they think you're stupid and you'll stay in US dollars. And the other half of that is they don't want China and Russia, who have like 30 tons of gold, to all of a sudden have gold go to 10,000 an ounce. And China's sitting on 25, 30,000 tons, and Russia's sitting on 15,000 tons. So they're sitting on that at 1,800. So when it goes to 10,000, you just made China and Russia a lot of money. So that's another reason they're keeping it down. But you can't keep the market down. It's a free market. It will do what it wants, and eventually it will go to 10 grand. It's just being held down artificially, and that won't last. It can't. That's like a football line where I don't know. Kansas City 6 over Indiana, and we talked about that should be higher. Well, you can't hold the line down. If the betting comes to KC and it goes to 10, that's the real line. So that's what I'm saying. Eventually, it gets to where it should be. So that's what you got to look at. So anyway, that's your economics lesson for today. Be very careful. You can see what's happening. Just Google car repos, and it's through the roof. And then housing is going to be next. And the banks are going to be taking. If you got more than 10 grand in the bank, leave 10 grand. If you got 50 grand in the bank, go try to take it out and see what happens. Okay. They're not going to give it to you. They're going to give you maybe 10 grand, maybe 15 you can get out. If you're there at the right time on the right day. They run out of money, right? Because when I converted mine to gold, I tried pulling 20 grand out, and they, well, we don't have it. We can give you 10, come back tomorrow when we get a shipment of money in. The bank does not hold money in the bank. There is no money. They get like 40, 50 grand, and then they limit the customers. So keep that in mind. You got 100 grand in the bank, it ain't sitting in the bank. It's gone. And they wait for a shipment of money like they get oranges at the grocery store. So get your money out, even if you have to put in a safe. Do that. I'm going to do a money heist with my gold. I have a safe, and I'm thinking, well, if somebody wants my gold, they'll just take the safe. So I'm going to put brass in the safe and put my gold somewhere else. It was ingenious. So you steal, because you're going to rob me, you're going to take my safe. You're not going to look around, so you'll take the safe. It'll be full of brass, and that's it. So I'm doing a professor where I switch gold for brass. You got to watch Money Heist to understand that, but that's what they did with the Bank of Spain. They stole all the gold, replaced it with brass, and it was brilliant. So I learned a lot from that. Anyway, that's football. We'll do college more in depth tomorrow. What's today? Wednesday. So Thursday. I guess the Thursday night game. At this point, I would take Pitt in the 10.5. I see a few locks that I actually have stumbled on here for pros. I haven't locked pros yet. College, it's okay. We'll take Georgia 61.5. It's unbelievable. Like, they're playing Kent State. Now, I know Kent State doesn't have a defense, but they're not going to score on them. They didn't score on Oklahoma. They're not going to score 20 points on Georgia. I mean, nobody does. This is unbelievable. 61.5. Oh, my God. I have to look at it 3 times, and I got to go back I'll have to go back on Google or Yahoo, and is it still 61.5? Because if it is, I'm posting it. Anyway, so I'll go through the college a little more closely. I'm seeing some good ones already. Anyway, look at UNLV, favorite over Utah State. They never would have happened last year. All right, everybody, have a great day. I am going to have some lunch, and I'm off work for a while. That's why I'm doing these daytime shows. It gives me more time to study and do my morning shows. So anyway, have a great day. www.teaserking.com. Christopher, anybody like that, go to the site, get my email, or ask Nick for the email, and just ask me questions. Or if you want to buy a package, we can work on a little discount or do something. But welcome aboard. And I've been doing this since 1977, so I do not lose. I figure out the key is I'm figuring out the defenses and the teams. And I'm open to the teams switching. So who is the team this year? So like Jacksonville is no longer a Z. That's why I'm successful. I catch on and then switch and I go, oh, Tennessee's the Z team this year. That's the team we're going to bet against. So that's why I'm always successful is I'm not stuck on San Diego every year or Pittsburgh every year. I'm who I need to be on. That's how I win. And it's just who is that team? Who's the A team? Who's the Z team? And in college, Kansas isn't the Z team. They're an over. So I switch and I lock Kansas. I never locked Kansas in my life until last week. And I go over and they win by 30 points. So, I mean, that's why I'm successful. I find the team and then I'm able to just go with it. I don't fight it going, oh, I don't like this team. There's no team I like or dislike, right? If it makes us money, I like them. If they don't, am I upset? Cincinnati. I didn't play Cincinnati last week. Was I upset they lost the Pitt the way they lost, where all I have to do is make an extra point and I win? Yeah, but I didn't bet a lot. Again, week 1 soft, week 2 soft. Now you'll start getting into I have an understanding of the teams a little bit better. And where I was maybe looking at Atlanta differently, I mean, they're really an over team, not a Z team. And I'm thinking with Mariota, they suck, but they are scoring points, and they scored points on the Rams. So you got to look at that too. All right, everybody, have a great day. www.teaserking.com. Come get my email, ask me questions, comments, whatever you like. And I wish you a good day, and thanks for watching. Appreciate it. All right, I'll be doing college, going through the games tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.